These are live pictures coming in from the border, Poland and Ukraine, and you see the people just disgorging from those buses. They have been waiting for hours to get transport across the border, arriving there at checkpoints in Poland. Mothers and children, so many of the men are kept in Ukraine, of course, to fight, 18 to 60 years old, elderly, carrying bags of their belongings as they packed up and fled so quickly. And you'll see so many pictures of children in this, which we're going to talk about in some more detail now, because with me this morning is Rema Jamous Imseis, who is the UN Refugee Agency's representative in Canada. She is in Ottawa this morning. Rema, thank you. I'm very pleased to have you on the program today. Can I just say hello again, because I didn't hear you and I want to make sure we have a good connection.
Hello, Heather.
Excellent.
Thank you for having me.
I am hearing you now. Thank you very much. The numbers that we just got from the UN Refugee Agency, your agency, Rema, 835,000 today. It was, if I'm not mistaken, 660,000 at this time yesterday, growing quickly by the day. What is the situation as you assess it right now?
Well, indeed, the numbers are daunting, and the scale of the displacement is nothing short of dramatic. In fact, Heather, unfortunately, I have to update that number further. We're now at well over 874,000 people who have crossed from Ukraine, fled in search of safety into a neighboring country. We know that just a few short days ago, we were describing this movement as thousands of people. We're now at well over 874,000. And it's not beyond the realm of possibility that we're going to exceed 1 million in the next 24 hours. We are planning at this point with the very unfortunate estimate of up to 4 million refugees. Neighboring countries have been really generous and have kept their borders open up until now, but their capacities are going to be stretched and overwhelmed, so they need all the support that they can get right now.
So 1 million within 24 hours, potentially 4 million, and that figure has been pretty stable through the week. That's been the high level as indicated by your UN High Commissioner, who indicated that this could be, bearing in mind in terms of scope, that would make this Europe's largest refugee crisis this century, Rema.
Correct. And these kinds of flows, these kinds of movements of people who are fleeing ongoing hostilities are harrowing, and it's very difficult for the authorities in neighboring countries now to be able to cope with this volume. They've done so, and the UN is on the ground supporting them. But we also have a very careful eye on what's happening within the borders of Ukraine, because we know that the majority of Ukrainians will never leave the country, but they'll try to seek safety in other parts of the country. At the moment, our colleagues are there on the ground, subject, unfortunately, to movement restrictions, curfews, and they're taking cover in bomb shelters along with ordinary Ukrainians. But we were planning for this, unfortunately, this kind of a scenario. So we've pre-positioned stocks and supplies. We have colleagues on the ground and ready to scale up the humanitarian response. At this point, Heather, I wish I had better news. But again, we're planning for something in the order of 12 million Ukrainians within the country who are going to need our help.
12 million within, 4 million without, potentially. So we're looking at pictures that we have filmed, and as we alternate between those images and maybe some live pictures as well, one of the things that just goes right to the heart, Rema, is the images of children, mothers and children, but the children just sitting there. This was an image we had just moments ago coming in live. A little boy just taking a drink and completely, life upended. What is specifically being done for the children, if anything?
Well, unfortunately, this isn't the first crisis of this kind that we've had to deal with in the world. So we have teams that are prepared for exactly this kind of a scenario. In fact, what we're hearing, Heather, is 3/4 of those who are arriving at the borders are women with children. And so we have services set up that are specifically targeted to dealing with this kind of a scenario. One of the inevitable consequences of ongoing hostilities and military offensives of this scale is that families will be separated from each other. Children will be separated from their parents. And so one of the things that's happening now, in fact, for everyone crossing is registered. We take account of who they are. We're supporting the national authorities in doing this. And efforts are made immediately to try and reunite children with their parents. We have colleagues on the ground who do this kind of work and specialize in family tracing. And that's unfortunately one of the realities that you see in this kind of chaos, this kind of flight for people's lives and for safety.
Seeing in some of these pictures, people standing there, it looks to be with names on just cardboard signs trying to find family members. Just extraordinary. These scenes that we're seeing live at the border with Poland, people with pets and people with suitcases, and certainly, as I said, all of the children. So what to do to respond? The expectation is the world will need to come up with vast sums of money. The United Nations has appealed already this week, just yesterday, in fact, for $1.7 billion to cover the humanitarian costs. Canada yesterday, Rema, committed $100 million more, in addition to the $25 million already committed this year. From this country in particular, will you need even more?
Unfortunately, because of the staggering scale that we're dealing with and the rapid increase in movement that we're seeing on a day-by-day basis, we do anticipate that the needs will continue to grow. You mentioned that we launched 2 emergency funding appeals yesterday. Canada has very generously stepped up and made a very important contribution to that. But as this situation carries on, yesterday we said we were in need of $1.7 billion just to cover needs for the next 3 months as best as we can, with, of course, some forecasting there. But if things continue on this scale, we will no doubt be needing additional support from governments around the world, including Canada.
And in terms of what some have called for, a desire to resettle, to bring some of these refugees out, at least temporarily, to safety until it's opportune for them to return. That hasn't happened yet. Do you foresee that happening at any point?
Well, at this stage, Heather, it's early days. When people are forced to flee their homes with very little and with children and families in tow, the ultimate objective, the goal for these people is to return home. That's where they want to be. Any of us who fled our home under these circumstances would want to return. So right now, the immediate concern is to keep borders open, to allow people to seek safety, and to be there on the ground to provide the emergency relief that they need. It is possible that this will continue. We're hoping. You showed images of the Security Council and the General Assembly meeting today. We do hope that there will be a swift diplomatic resolution to this problem, that there'll be a cessation of hostilities, and people can silence the guns and they can go home. If we reach the point where that's not possible, certainly there will be some Ukrainians and others who will need to be resettled in third countries.
So we will continue that conversation if need be. I want to ask you before I conclude this morning with some of the reports we've been playing this week, Rema, voices from people at the border trying to get across, trying to get out of Ukraine, who are from Africa, who are Asian, who are Muslim, who have been reporting that they are sent to the back of the line, that they are facing even additional challenges in getting out to safety, and that there has been discrimination based on race and nationality when it comes to crossing the border. Do you have any, what is your awareness of that situation? How significant is it? And what, if anything, is being done to remove that barrier?
Well, certainly accounts are reaching us and they are deeply disturbing. And we've taken these up with the authorities in the neighboring countries. When, you look at this population, you're talking about students, you're talking about people who were working in Ukraine and others who were themselves refugees fleeing conflict from their own home countries not so long ago, seeking the protection of Ukraine. And to see any of these people turned away on the basis of nationality, of legal status, of race is completely unacceptable. People are fleeing alongside Ukrainians for their lives, trying to find safety and protection in neighboring countries. So we need everybody to be able to access that.
How prevalent is that based on the accounts that you're getting?
Well, it's difficult to say and to give you an accurate picture, but certainly one report is one too many. And we would like to see all people who are fleeing for their lives be able to access that safety in neighboring countries.
Rema, I thank you for today. I dare say, I think we'll have to have further conversations about this as the situation continues to worsen. With that breaking news number one from you to begin, 874,000 people now out of Ukraine and into the neighboring countries. Rema Jamous Imseis, thank you very much for the time today.